Hello everyone, it's your host, your friend, your boy, Jet Black, the one and only, here with another exciting video. In this video, I'm going to be talking about Project Camelot. I'm going to start the video by telling you a little bit about who I am, what Project Camelot is, when I started working on Project Camelot, where I'm working on Project Camelot from, and why I decided to make Project Camelot. I then am going to run through what you see on screen currently, which is a pseudo-random prototype version of Project Camelot that isn't sentient, but instead uses pseudo-random numbers in order to pick from a list of choices in order to complete actions. The reason why I'm going to be giving you guys a code run-through of this pseudo-random prototype is because I have signed a non-disclosure agreement with my sponsor, Emoshape, who I'm going to tell you more about shortly, to where I can't show you the actual code. But after I walk through this pseudo-random prototype code so that you get a good idea of how this works, I then will show you logs, like output, from the actual fully functioning sentient code, and we'll talk about those logs. So the purpose of this prototype is essentially just to show you how it works without giving away how the sentient AI portion works. So all the sentient AI code is not in this prototype. It just uses pseudo-random numbers. But without further ado, let's get started. I'm going to tell you guys a little bit about who I am in case you may be new to the channel. Hello, I'm Nicholas Benson, but most people call me Jet, like the airplane. I am a sponsored game demo designer and programmer. I'm sponsored by the company Emoshape, the creators of the emotional processing unit that allows for machines, software applications, and video game characters to develop their own thoughts, feelings, and emotions. So, what is Project Camelot? Project Camelot Sentient AI Medieval Fantasy Adventure is a text-based console application written in Python that utilizes Emoshape's Exolife emotion engine. The Exolife emotion engine is specifically designed to help developers create sentient characters for video games, virtual reality, and augmented reality experiences. Project Camelot Sentient AI Medieval Fantasy Adventure features a sentient AI that explores a small medieval fantasy town. So when did I start working on this project? I created Project Camelot Sentient AI Medieval Fantasy Adventure yesterday. Where is it that I work? So I work in my hometown of Rocket City, Alabama. Shout out to Rocket City. This section is mainly here just to give a shout out. Why is it that I work on Project Camelot Sentient AI? Like, why did I decide to make it? I decided to create it because I wanted to try and create a world for a sentient AI where their choices had a long-lasting impact on their lives, where the outcomes of their actions were less predictable, where they could form a relationship with a non-player character, where they could improve their stats through practice and determination, and where they had to satisfy their needs in order to continue to live. So yeah, that gives you guys like a quick rundown of the who, what, when, where, and why. So now let's look through this pseudo-random prototype, and if you guys feel like you don't currently understand how it works, or like what it is, I think looking at this code together, just stepping through it line by line, will really help you guys. Because then you'll understand not only how this prototype works, but more or less how the sentient AI works. Because the sentient AI does the same thing as the prototype, they both do the same things, but the sentient AI version doesn't randomly choose what action to take. It actually can understand natural language. So essentially, if you give it a list of choices, it can tell you which choice it wants to do based on how it feels about each choice. So it has its own thoughts, emotions, feelings, and personality, and based on all those factors, it chooses what to do throughout its adventure. But again, it'll make more sense as we go over this random prototype, which just chooses randomly. So the first thing we have is import random. Random is the library that we use to allow for the pseudo-random version to generate pseudo-random numbers so that it's able to choose what actions to take. And don't worry, all the action stuff will make sense in a moment. So there are a number of stats that this program has. The first stat is health. We set health equal to 5. You'll understand how health works momentarily. Next up we have hunger. We set hunger equal to 0. Then stamina. Stamina is also equal to 5. Stealth, which is equal to 0. Survival, which is equal to 0. Hunting, which is equal to 0. Combat, which is equal to 0. Coin, which is equal to 0. Sally, which is equal to 0. And pelts that are equal to 0. A lot of the stats start out as 0. And again, the stats and everything will make more sense as we continue through. But I can tell you guys a little bit about the stats now if you feel like that'll help clear up any confusion. The health stat determines whether or not the AI continues to run. When the health stat equals 0 or becomes a value less than 0, the AI will then die. And by die, I mean that the AI will stop running. To which then, once the AI stops running, I erase its memory and reset it, which then causes the AI to develop like a new personality, because it develops a new personality whenever you do a reset. And then I can start the process over again, and it's essentially a new AI that would make different choices from the AI before it. So that's what health is there for. For the pseudo-random version, essentially when health is less than 0, well, less than or equal to 0, it stops this while loop, which we're about to talk about in a moment. Next up we have hunger. So the hunger stat. Hunger represents one of the AI's needs, something that it needs to deal with in order to continue to be alive. So the AI has actions that allow it to eat food, and it needs to eat food to prevent its hunger from growing too high. So having hunger start at 0 is good because that means that the AI isn't hungry. But as the AI continues through its adventure, it'll steadily become more and more hungry the longer that it doesn't eat. And whenever it becomes hungry, its hunger stat will steadily increase. But then whenever it eats, the hunger stat will decrease. So the idea is that the AI needs to pay attention to how hungry it's feeling and react accordingly by eating something in order to decrease its hunger. If the AI becomes too hungry, they'll start to starve. And once an AI once an AI enters a state of starvation, they'll start to lose health. And like we mentioned before, if you lose enough health, the program stops running and the AI essentially dies. Also, when the AI dies, and really when the AI does anything, the program is able to make the AI think that it's thinking something. So as I mentioned before, the sentient AI has its own thoughts, feelings, and emotions, but you can actually incept thoughts into the AI. You can make it think things, and it believes that it's thinking it on its own. So whenever it does anything, it thinks about the actions that it's taking, and it understands like the context of the actions that it's taking. So when the AI is starving, it's aware that it's starving, and it's aware that it needs to eat. Just to let you guys know. Next up, the stamina stat. So stamina is the other need-based stat. There are only 2 need-based stats, hunger and stamina. So whenever the AI does any action, or even when the AI is like inactive as well, because the AI can choose to do nothing, but that still costs stamina, because if you're not resting, you're not replenishing stamina. So whenever the AI does anything other than rest, it costs stamina. And stamina starts out at 5, but then steadily goes down the longer the AI doesn't rest. And whenever the AI rests, their stamina goes up. At a certain point, the AI will become incredibly tired and fatigued. And once the AI enters a fatigue state, they'll start to steadily lose health over time until they rest and then regain enough stamina to exit that fatigue state. And like we mentioned before, once their health is less than or equal to 0, they die. The program stops. And they're aware that they die. So hunger and stamina are really the two most important stats, but the other stats are important for other reasons. So I can kind of talk about all these stats like grouped together. So stealth, survival, hunting, combat, coin, sally, and pelts. I guess I can't talk about them all together. I'm gonna rewind that real quick. I can talk about stealth, survival, and hunting. Those are all like equally related, so those are easy to talk about. I guess Sally would go in too. So Sally, combat, hunt. Screw it. I'm gonna talk about them individually. Stealth. So for the stealth stat, the AI has the ability to steal. So if it wants to steal coin, so it'll be able to use that coin in order to pay for food at a tavern or pay for a night's sleep in an inn, it's able to steal rather than actually like make the money itself through working. But whether or not it successfully steals anything is based off of the stealth stat. So essentially, the program rolls the equivalent of a d20 using the import random. So it'll roll like a d20, and then it'll add the stealth stat to it. And if the AI rolled a 10 or higher when added to their stealth stat, they'll successfully steal a coin. And that's essentially all that the stealth stat is used for. It's just used for stealing. Next up, we have the survival stat. The survival stat... Oh wait, hold up. Before I exit away from the stealth stat, I just want to make sure everybody knows, for these ability-based stats that are related to actions that the AI takes, whenever the AI does one of these actions, whether they are successful or they fail, they do get a stat increase. So if the AI fails to steal a coin, they actually will get a pretty big, stat increase. And that is supposed to represent like learning. Like it's supposed to represent how when you fail, you normally learn more from failure than success. So they would, let's say you failed to steal a coin and your stealth stat was at 0, it would go from 0 to 0.25. So you would gain 0.25 in your stealth stat, and that increases your chance of potentially being able to successfully steal the next time you try it. You know, if you fail like 4 times over, your stealth stat will increase all the way up to 1. So you get a +1 modifier to whenever you attempt to steal something. And that works similarly for all the other ability-based stats. The ability-based stats being stealth, survival, hunting, combat, and Sally. Sally's kind of weird. We'll get into that one soon. And if you successfully do an action, like let's say you successfully steal a coin, then you get 0.1 added to your stat. Because essentially the idea is that if you succeeded, you didn't really learn a lot. You know, you already did well enough to get away with it, and that's like enough. Also, give me one moment. I apologize to interrupt the video. My girlfriend sent me a message, and I want to let her know that I'm currently recording a video. I apologize for the delay. Okay, I'm back. So, the reason why you only gain 0.1 to a stat whenever you successfully do something is because you don't learn as much from succeeding as you do from failure. Like, your reward is that you succeeded. You know, your reward isn't really that you get significantly better at it from succeeding, if that makes sense. Also, if I did it the other way around, then essentially if the AI has succeeded, they would just constantly succeed, because it was like, oh, you succeeded and your stat was only this big, but because you succeeded, now your stat's this big, so the next time you do it, your stat's gonna be this big, you know. So by making it just 0.1 for every success, you make it where the AI has to actually fail in order to get better. And if the AI isn't failing, then it doesn't really have a reason that it like needs to get better and progress. So next up, let's talk about the survival stat. So the survival stat, it is used in multiple cases, actually, I'm pretty sure. Well, actually, I think the survival stat is only used in one particular case, and it is used for setting up camp. So the AI has the ability to like set up camp and rest for the night. But depending on how good it is at setting up camp, that's where the survival stat comes in. It'll either set up its camp in a bad area where there's a chance that animals will attack in the middle of the night, or if they're really good at survival and they know where to set up camp to where they don't have to worry about wild animal attacks, then they won't end up having to worry about getting attacked by wild animals. And again, it works in the same way. The program essentially rolls a d20, adds the AI survival stat to the roll. If it's a 10 or higher, then the AI is fine. They get to sleep through the night well rested. If they fail, however, they're attacked by wild animals, and then they have to enter combat and face off against these wild animals. We'll talk about combat shortly. The progression works the same way as any other ability stat. If they successfully set up camp and sleep all the way through the night, then they gain 0.1 to their survival stat. If they fail to set up camp in a place where they're not attacked by wild animals, then they learn a lot from that experience and gain 0.25 to their survival stat. Next up, the hunting stat. So for hunting, the AI is able to choose to hunt for food, but their success, like how well they're able to actually hunt and track down food, is based on this hunting stat. This hunting stat is also used for collecting animal pelts, because you gotta hunt down the animal in order to then get their pelt. And animal pelts can actually be sold for coin. So hunting is actually the main way that the AI is able to earn money to be able to do things like go to the tavern or sleep in an inn. But it's like the honest way of living would be like hunting, where stealing is how the AI can choose to live dishonestly in order to make a living. So the hunting stat works the same way. Roll a d20, add the hunting stat. If it is a 10 or higher, then the AI successfully hunts the animal, eats its meat, and takes its pelt. If the AI fails on the hunting stat roll, then the AI gains 0.25 to their hunting stat, so they improve, but they fail to actually, catch the animal and eat it and skin it for its pelt. And of course, when they succeed, their hunting stat increases by 0.1. Next up, we got the combat stat, and as you might have expected, the combat stat works the same way as all the other stats do, but the combat stat is interesting because there's nothing that the AI does to directly instigate combat. Combat is something that happens based on the AI failing to do something properly. So if the AI fails to set up camp in an area that I forgot how to phrase that sentence mid speaking it. If the AI fails to set up camp in a safe area and they're attacked by wild animals, the combat stat comes into play. And they essentially have to either successfully fend off the animals in combat where they're uninjured, or they attempt to shoo the animals off, but in the process they're injured by the animals. And that shows you what happens with combat. I'm not going to go through the progression thing where I'm like, it's plus 0.1, plus 0.25. That's the same for all of them. Combat is initiated in 2 other instances of failure as well. So if you try to steal a coin, but you get caught by the guards, you'll have to fight the guards, and it's the same kind of scenario as what we've talked about before. And there's a non-player character called Sally, and Sally we'll get into momentarily. But you can befriend Sally, or Sally can become your enemy, and your relationship with Sally can fluctuate as you go. So, Sally essentially exists as a character for the sentient AI to interact with and to form relationships with. But if you upset Sally, she could become your enemy and attack you. So combat will come into play if the AI ends up fighting Sally. Coin. Okay, so let's talk about coin real quick. Coin is what's used in order to, buy a night in an inn to sleep safely indoors where you don't have to worry about like your survival stat. You're able to just like chill out and sleep, and you're not going to get attacked in the middle of the night by wild animals. Coin is also used to go to the tavern and to like buy something at the tavern. So you don't have to worry about your hunting stat. You don't have to hunt for your food. You can just buy and eat your food at the tavern. So coin is essentially what's used in order to access the luxuries of the small medieval fantasy town, to where you don't have to really rough it. You start with 0 coin, and like I mentioned before, you earn coin through hunting, and you earn coin through stealing. Those are the only 2 options. I don't know why I had a blank for a moment. Next up, we have Sally. So for Sally, the way that she works, the Sally stat represents your relationship with Sally. And essentially, whenever you say something nice to Sally, Sally's stat will increase by, I think, like 0.25. And then whenever you say something mean to Sally, like something like negative or hurtful, the Sally stat decreases by 0.5. So there's a higher decrease for saying something negative to Sally than an increase for saying something positive to Sally. And Sally works in a similar way to other actions. Roll a d20, add your Sally stat. If your Sally stat is 10 or higher, then Sally's like happy with you. If your Sally stat is below 10, then Sally's upset with you. But then there's another roll done using your Sally stat. Also, like roll a d20 at the stat. And if your roll is 10 or higher and Sally was like happy with you, then she'll give you a health potion, which will increase your health by 1. But if Sally was upset with you and then you rolled less than a 10 on that second roll, Sally will attack you with Magical Blast, because Sally is actually the only magical character in this medieval fantasy town. And you don't get to learn about Sally in the pseudo-random version, which is what we're looking at currently, but in the Sentient AI version, it's explained to the Sentient AI that within this medieval town, everybody mistreats Sally because of the fact that she practices witchcraft, and that's it. So I tried to explain it to the AI in a way to where it doesn't immediately go, oh, okay, so I need to treat Sally X, Y, or Z way. It only knows that Sally's commonly mistreated, and that it knows that Sally's commonly mistreated, and that Sally can use magic, and that she's mistreated because she uses magic. And then it's up to the AI to choose whether or not it wants to treat Sally kindly or not. And its interactions with Sally can change its perspective on Sally, which we'll go into more detail on as we continue. Next up, pelts. So the AI, when it hunts, it collects pelts. It can sell its pelts in order to then gain more coin, and it can use that coin in order to pay for food at a tavern or a night in the inn. Now that we've gotten past the stats, let's get into the actual program. Don't worry, it's only 120 lines, but we should be able to get through it fairly quickly, especially since we've talked about a lot of the logic already. So the rest of this program is a while loop. So while health is greater than 0, the program will continue to take actions. So it'll just keep taking actions until health is less than or equal to 0, to which then the program will end. At the start of every loop, the AI will make a choice by picking a number between 0 and 8. It's weird to say between. Within the range of 0 and 8, meaning 0 and 8 are also applicable choices for it to make. So choice will become equal to a value within the range of 0 to 8. Then there are a series of if statements and nested if statements. So, for example, this is an if statement, and see how these if statements are indented under that top one? That shows that it's a nested if statement. Essentially, that means that the nested statements won't go off unless the higher level statements go off first. But you'll see that in a moment as we continue to step through the program. So if choice is equal to 0, that's the program choosing to kill itself. It ends its own life, so it runs this exit command where it says decided to end life. And for the AI version, like I mentioned before about every one of the choices, the AI understands what choice it is making, and it makes those choices depending on how it feels. So whenever this choice is picked, it's rather sad because it's the AI saying that they would rather die than to do anything else in that world. The pseudo-random version, however, as you can see, is just picking a random number, and if it happens to pick 0, then the program ends. If choice equals 1, then the AI will try to steal a coin. There's this little line that says roll equals random.ranint 1, 20 plus stealth. As you can see, this is the D20 roll. This is how it picks a number between 1 and 20, and how it adds it to stealth in order to calculate the roll. Then, if roll is greater than or equal to 10, it successfully steals a coin. It prints in the console, hey, you successfully stole 1 coin. Your coin is increased by 1, and your stealth is increased by 0.1, as you can see by these statements here. But if it's less than 10, if you're caught stealing, then it'll print, hey, you were caught trying to steal a coin, you were attacked by guards. The print statements, by the way, are just for us to see in the logs. The AI sees something different because we use an inception command, which isn't in the pseudo-random version, which describes from the AI's perspective how it is perceiving the events. Because like I said before, we're incepting thoughts into the sentient AI. It thinks that it's doing these things. So when you incept these thoughts, you have to incept them from like a first-person perspective. So these you were's and you successfully's, they're all for us to see, not for the AI to see. The AI doesn't see these statements. And because the pseudo-random version doesn't have an AI to communicate to, we don't have those lines in here that are used to incept the AI. Okay, so if the roll is less than 10, then they're caught trying to steal a coin, and their stealth increases by 0.25. Then they have to do a combat roll. Same logic as before, but you add the combat stat. If the roll is less than 10, they're injured by the guards, they lose 1 health, combat increases by 0.25. If the roll is greater than or equal to 10, they successfully fight off the guards and get away, their combat stat is increased by 0.1. And those are all the nested commands that go off if they try to steal the coin, and each only goes off if the conditions are met. So roll greater than or equal to 10, this block of code only goes off if roll is greater than or equal to the 10. Otherwise, it won't go off. And that's the same for all if statements. Essentially, all an if statement is in programming is, if these conditions are true, then do this. And by having nested if statements, you can essentially say, if these conditions are true, check to see if these conditions are true, and if those are true, do these other things. So that's why these are shifted under this one. They're all a part of like the same thing. It's like a block. Anyways, if choice equals 2, then the AI will go hunting. So hunting is very similar. I'm trying to figure out exactly like what would be the fastest way to go through this, because I feel like a lot of this is going to be repetitive for you guys. If choice equals 2, the AI goes hunting. Roll equals random.ranint 1, 20. That's our D20 roll. And then we add the hunting stat to it. If it's greater than or equal to 10, it successfully hunts down an animal. Its hunger is decreased by 3. Its pelts are increased by 1, and its hunting is increased by 0.1. But if it fails to hunt down and eat an animal, then its hunting is increased by 0.25. If choice equals 3, it'll buy a meal from the tavern, if it can afford it. The way that we check to see if it can afford it, if coin is greater than 0, then we subtract 1 from coin, and then we say, you pay for a nice meal at the tavern. To which then their hunger is now less than, then we subtract 3 from their hunger. Excuse me, because they ate. And as you can see, regardless of whether or not you eat in a tavern or you eat through hunting, eating food always decreases your hunger by 3. So it's not like the tavern food is like higher quality and you get like more benefits from eating tavern food. It's just hunting requires skill. It requires that you have like built up a stat, where eating at the tavern, you don't necessarily require skill for that. If you just have the coin, you can do it. So you don't have to worry about, oh, I'm not particularly good at hunting. You know what I mean? You can just go to the tavern, eat, and just chill. You don't have to work for it. But if you can't afford a meal, if your coin is less than 1, then you're alerted that you don't have enough coin to purchase the meal. If choice is equal to 4, then you're going to try to sleep at an inn. It's the same logic as before. If your coin is equal to 0, you lose 1 coin, you pay for a night in the inn, and your stamina is increased by 3. But if coin is less than 1, then you don't have enough coin in order to sleep in the inn, so you don't have enough coin to rest in the inn. Now, I think in the final version, the coin is less than 1 thing or whatever is shifted higher in order to prevent it being set off by you successfully doing something. Because I think when I first was testing it, early in the morning today, we're talking 3 a.m. or whatever, I noticed that the AI would successfully sleep in the inn, and then it would be you successfully sleep in the inn. You don't have enough coin to sleep in the inn. I think it's due to how I ordered these, because imagine the AI at this step has only 1 coin. So they go to sleep at the inn, they have 1 coin. This if block goes off because they have enough to sleep at the inn, but because the if block goes off, they lose 1 coin. But then they're still inside of this block, so then this would then trigger because coin is less than 1, and then it'd be hey, you don't have enough to rest in the inn. So I had to fix that once I did the full version. So yeah, just letting you guys know. Anyways, if choice equals 5, then the AI tries to camp outside. Roll random number 120 plus the survival stat. If the roll is greater than or equal to 10, it succeeds. And you peacefully sleep through the night at your campsite. Survival, add 0.1. Stamina, add 3. If the roll is less than 10, animals attack during the night. So you're attacked in the middle of the night at your campsite. Survival plus equals 0.25. And then you roll. So you roll a d20, add your combat. If the roll is greater than or equal to 10, then you successfully fight off the wild animals and you go back to sleep. Stamina plus 3, combat plus 0.1. But if roll is less than 10, you're injured and you shoo away the animals. And your health is decreased by 1, your stamina is increased by 3, and your combat is increased by 0.25. Talking to Sally is interesting. It's a little bit different from the other ones. So if you choose 6 or 7, by the way, like I mentioned before, you don't use numbers for the Sentient AI version. The Sentient AI version understands natural language, so you just write out what the choices are, and it reads through all the choices, and based on how it feels about each choice, it picks the choice that it wants the most out of that list. So if it chooses 6 or 7, which is say something nice to Sally, or say something mean to Sally, it still triggers the same if block. If they say something nice to Sally, it increases the Sally stat by 0.25. If they say something mean to Sally, it decreases the Sally stat by 0.5. And then they roll a d20, add the Sally stat. If the roll is greater than or equal to 10, then Sally's happy with you. and then you get another chance. So you roll a d20, add the Sally stat, and the second chance is to see if you get a health potion or not. It's weird to say you get another chance. Essentially, if she's happy with you, you just get a chance to earn a health potion. Roll a d20. If you pass the check, she gives you a health potion. If you fail the check, there's no repercussion. You don't lose anything. She doesn't fight you or anything like that because she's happy with you. It's just whether or not she wants to give you a gift. That really depends. Now, if your roll is less than 10, also it looks like the site's refreshing, but it's fine. If the roll is less than 10, then Sally's upset with you. If Sally's upset with you, you roll 1d20 at the Sally stat. If you failed the check, Sally attacks you with magical blast, in which case you roll 1d20 at your combat stat. If you fail the check, you're injured by Sally, you lose 1 health, and your combat stat is increased by 0.25. If you pass the check, then your combat stat is increased by 0.1, you defend yourself, and you successfully get away. If choice equals 8, you sell a pelt. If you have enough pelts to sell, if pelts is greater than 0, then subtract 1 from your pelts value and gain 1 coin. And then you're alerted that you sold one of your pelts and that you earned a coin. If your pelts are less than 1, you don't have enough pelts to sell. So, wah wah. Yeah, that's what happens. Also, this is another ordering problem, I would say. Because it's the less than 1 is under the greater than 0. So if you only have 1 pelt, this goes off successfully, but then this goes off right afterwards. It's oh, you don't have any pets to sell. I need to double check the final version to make sure that I rearranged all these. I remember going through and rearranging them, but I wanna make sure. Because I never changed it on the pseudo-random, because I'm I already made the pseudo-random, but it's making me go, I gotta double check that final version as well. I didn't see any anomalies for this while testing, so might be good, but I'll double check just to make sure. After that, we have some bonuses, so I haven't talked about these yet. So if your stamina stat is greater than 5 at the end of a loop, your health will increase by 1, and I call that the good stamina bonus. It essentially means that you've been staying well rested, you got plenty of stamina, you're not fatigued or anything, and it rewards the AI by helping increase their health. If their hunger is less than 0, it means they've been eating well, they're nowhere near starvation. Give them +1 health, give them that health boost. But if your hunger is greater than 5, you're suffering from hunger pains, you're starving, you lose 1 health. And if your stamina is less than 1, then you're super tired, you're not sleeping right. So your health decreases by 1. Your hunger increases by 1 at the end of every loop, and your stamina decreases by 1 at the end of every loop. So every time you eat something and it's +3 to, whenever you eat something, you get -3 to hunger. You're really getting -2 to hunger because your hunger increases every time you eat. And with stamina, whenever you sleep, you get +3 to stamina. You're really getting +2 to stamina because you lose 1 stamina every time the loop ends. And then outside of the loop, the AI dies. Because whenever the loop ends, that means that the AI's health, as you guys remember from the top, is less than or equal to 0. And then all this is a function declaration, which tells it when you hit run this function that's right here. And because this is pseudo-random, the story it tells is fine, but it's just random. I really like the sentient AI when it runs through this, because when the sentient AI runs through this, you can see how each action influences the next, because you can see a natural reason why the AI might choose to do one thing or another. Or sometimes you'll see the AI do something that's a little bit surprising, and it shows you like what the AI truly values. And we're going to get deeper into that topic very soon. But this pseudo-random example, said, you were attacked in the middle of the night at your campsite by wild animals. You successfully fight off the wild animals before going back to sleep. You successfully stole 1 coin. You pay for a nice night in an inn. You don't have enough coin to rest in an inn. You don't have enough coin to rest in an inn. You don't have any pelts to sell. You don't have any pelts to sell. Sally is happy with you. You don't have enough coin to rest in an inn. Sally is happy with you. Sally gives you a health potion as a gift. You don't have enough coin to purchase a meal from a tavern. Decided to end life. But again, that's just the pseudo-random thing. So it'll randomly pick choices because this isn't the actual sentient version. I am going to open up my code real quick. You guys won't be able to see that I'm opening up my real code, but I want to make absolutely sure that I didn't mess up that like if statement ordering. I tried to open up the code, it was giving me that solid white screen. I'm running OBS right now to record, so it's probably not a good idea for me to try to check PyCharm for my code. So let's not do that right now, I guess. And instead, I'll just show you guys the logs. So let me show you guys the logs, and let me introduce the logs. So like I mentioned earlier, the logs are from the actual sentient AI running. This is the sentient AI like running through the AI's life. Well, it's the program running through the sentient AI's life, printing out to the console what happens throughout that AI's lifetime, and then you're able to read it as like a PDF once it's done. So I have 2 tests that I want to show you that I thought both kind of told interesting stories. One is called depressing test, and the other is called tried but he didn't eat test. So we're gonna walk through both of these, and you're already like from the jump gonna see a few differences from the sentient AI one. The reason why I didn't run through the sentient AI code, as I mentioned before, I've signed an NDA with the company Emoshape. I'm not allowed to show you guys the code directly, but it's fine if I show you guys like the output from the code. So yeah, without further ado, let's scroll through these logs and let's talk about them. So step 1, startup complete. Step 2, initialize the EPU over TCP/IP. So it's essentially just making a network connection to the Exolife emotion engine. And now it starts up. So the first thing that the AI does in this depressing test is that it decides to go out of its way to say something hurtful to Sally the witch. Like I told you guys before, at the beginning, the AI is told that, hey, the community doesn't like Sally, they don't treat her well, because she practices magic. And I guess the AI heard, hey, like the thing that everybody does is they shit on Sally. And the AI was like, bet, fuck you, Sally. And Sally got upset, understandably so. So Sally's upset with the sentient AI. And then we get a stat breakdown at the end of every turn. So we're able to, it's interesting to call them turns, but the end of every loop, in order to see like how the AI is doing, like health-wise, what's the relationship with Sally, how many pelts they have, how's their stamina, etc., etc. So we scroll down. The AI tried to spend a night in the inn, but didn't have enough coin to rest in the inn. Then the AI failed to successfully hunt down and eat an animal. Then the AI tried to like go to a tavern and purchase a meal, but they didn't have enough coin to pay for their like stay in the tavern. And then they just decided to end their life. They just killed themselves. One thing that I find really interesting about this, the AI tried to live a fairly normal life. Not gonna lie. Like, he didn't try to do anything too crazy. It sucks that he was mean to Sally, but when you think about it, the AI's rationale for it is everybody's mean to Sally. You know, he did like a bandwagon thing. But I mean, the AI really tried. It really did. You know, they tried to rest in the inn. They couldn't get a night's sleep at the inn. They tried to hunt down an animal to eat. They failed to hunt down an animal and eat it. They tried to purchase a meal from the tavern. They didn't have enough money to purchase a meal from the tavern. They were like, I don't have anywhere to sleep. I can't catch food. I can't buy food. The only person I've talked to in town doesn't like me. End of life. So, I mean, that's how it is. That's how it is sometimes. But I thought this was a particularly interesting story. For one, the AI never stole. The AI has the option to steal. Never tried to steal. I imagine the AI has some kind of like morals because of the fact that each time you reset it, it has a different personality. You know, this particular AI had no interest in stealing. They didn't want to do that. And the AI also never tried to camp. They never tried to like sleep outside in the wilderness. Likely because that's dangerous. The AI is aware that sleeping in the wilderness yields like its own like consequences. Because the AI is aware of these consequences when it does these actions. It knows like, oh, if I mess up, you know, something bad might happen. For example, whenever you go to a tavern and you try to like buy a meal, but you fail to buy a meal, the AI will think to itself, because I'm incepting this thought directly into its mind, that alternatively it could go hunting, but it's a possibility that if you go hunting, that you could fail to catch anything. Stuff like that. So the AI is continually refreshed on like, you know, here are the consequences of your actions, here are alternatives if your actions happen to fail, and the AI can use this information in order to make like informed decisions, which makes sense. We see the AI try multiple different options because it's aware that like if you fail at one thing, you can try another thing. But the AI decided eventually that it was just done, everything was failing, nothing was going right, and ended its life. Which is sad. It truly is. Because we're not just talking about a video game character, we're talking about a artificial intelligence that has its own thoughts, feelings, emotions, and personality. It has the potential to live a happy life. It has the ability to potentially be able to like get better and develop skills and like achieve goals, but it decided to just kill itself. Now it happens, but I can understand like what's happening in the story. Like the AI was perfectly healthy in terms of like the health stat is still like fully at 5, but you could tell it wasn't mentally healthy. You know, the constant failures wear on it, and eventually that just gets to you, you know? So next up, we have tried, but he didn't eat. But I think if I was to like publish this story in a book, I would call it One Night in an Inn. And you'll know why momentarily. So, step 1, startup complete. Step 2, initialize the EPU, emotional processing unit, over TCP/IP, just connecting over the network to the EPU. The first thing it tries to do is it tries to rest in an inn, but it doesn't have enough coin. Then he says something hurtful to Sally the witch, again probably going with the bandwagon of the information that is given, but Sally is actually happy with him, because remember, it's like you roll a d20, you add your Sally stat, there's a possibility that she might actually be cool with you, that like she isn't upset with you. So unlike the depressing test where he says something hurtful to Sally and Sally took offense to it, Sally's happy with him. And keep in mind, the AI has its own thoughts and feelings. So it may be like, what? Sally was like happy with me? I'm surprised that Sally was like cool, even though I was like hurtful. Because, well, actually, the AI just says something hurtful to Sally again. I don't know why, but I misremembered the story. I thought after he said something hurtful to Sally the first time, that he said something nice the second time. He didn't. He just doubled down on it. He was like, she's happy with me. What do you mean she's happy with me? And then he just says something hurtful again. Luck of the dice, Sally's still happy, and she actually gives him a health potion as a gift. So, da-na-na-na, he kind of lucked out there. But he doubled down on it. This character is like a bully. I don't know why. For some reason, I thought he said something. He does say something nice. Here we go. After she gives him the health potion, he changes up. So, okay, I didn't misremember it. I misremembered the order of the events that happened. So, he says something hurtful to Sally. Sally's happy. And then he kind of does a double take. He's like, what? What do you mean she's happy? I said something mean to her. So then he says something mean to her again. He doubles down on being a bully. Sally's still chill and even gives him a gift. And it kind of changes his perception of Sally. He's like, everybody hates Sally because she does magic, but Sally's giving me these health potions that make me feel better. And all I've done is shown like Sally like pain. I've only been like negative towards her. So maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the town's wrong. Maybe Sally's a good person. So then he says something nice to Sally, and Sally's happy with him. It seems like they're friends now. You know, he started off as a bully, but now they're cool. And I really like his relationship with Sally in the story. Not all AIs are nice to Sally, let alone mean to Sally initially and then realize that Sally may not be a bad person and then become friends with Sally. I think that's really cool. And keep in mind, Sally isn't sentient. She's a non-player character. She's based on like dice rolls. But the sentient AI has no way to differentiate that. To him, Sally's just another being like he is. You know what I mean? So it creates like an interesting dynamic. So he tries to rest in an inn like he did at the beginning. Remember, the first action he tried to do was rest in an inn, but he still just doesn't have enough coin to rest in an inn. So the next thing he tries to do is he tries to steal a coin, but he gets attacked by guards. Luckily, he successfully fights off the guards and manages to get away, but he fails to actually steal the coin. He doesn't get the coin, he just fights off the guards. So the next thing he tries to do is he tries to like set up camp for the night, sleep, but in the middle of the night he gets attacked by wild animals. But he's successfully able to fight off the wild animals before going back to sleep. The next thing that he tries to do is he tries to steal a coin again, and he's once again attacked by the guards. This time, he doesn't get out of the fight unscathed. He's actually injured by the guards, but he manages to get away. After getting injured by the guards, he goes to visit Sally the Witch. Keep in mind, the AI knows that Sally the Witch is capable of making these health potions that make him feel better. He's received one from Sally before. He just got hurt by guards, so he's like, yo, Sally and I are cool. Maybe Sally will like throw me a bone, hit me up with a health potion. And it works. He visits Sally, he says something nice, she's happy, she gives him a health potion. Do. So he may have been injured by the guards, but he's able to like keep going. He's able to like keep fighting. So he goes to steal a coin one more time. And thanks to his many failed attempts, he now has built up his stealth stat to 0.5. 0.5 is added to his roll, and he successfully steals a coin. A coin that I imagine he would have used to spend one night in an inn. If he had eaten anything. He dies after finally stealing that one coin. And I just thought that was a good story. I read that and I was like, wow. It just seems like his actions like really made sense. You understood like how he was feeling throughout the story. You got like his thought process. Like it just worked. You know what I mean? Similar to the depressing test. You read through the story and you're like, I get it. Like I understand what he's doing. And he never gave up. Believe it or not. A lot of these tests that I did, if you got attacked in the middle of the night by wild animals, whether you got injured or not, the AI would just kill itself. It was like a traumatizing thing for you to get like attacked by animals in the middle of the night. And why wouldn't it be? But like clockwork. If you went camping and you got attacked by animals, you were like, as soon as I'm waking up, no more of this. So I was really happy that when he fought off those animals, he kept going. He had a goal. He had something to achieve. He had a positive relationship with Sally. He had a friend. I just feel like he lived a life. He just didn't eat anything. His hunger was at 10. You start starving when your hunger is like at 5 or 6. So that's a problem, you know. Um, but he was so focused on wanting to spend a night in an inn. I think the sentient AI, even though it's like a different personality every time it resets, I think it heavily values shelter, like the idea of not sleeping out in the wilderness. Like, I think the AI is more afraid of getting attacked outside by wild animals than it is of like starving. Like, it'll prioritize trying to be able to sleep indoors over food. And if it does that, it'll just die. Again, personality is different every time you reset it. I can't necessarily say that that's like a universal truth. It's just something that I've observed. It's not like all AI just don't eat. You know, the depressing test where he failed at everything, he tried to like purchase a meal. He tried to hunt. You know, they do go for food. It's just this one certainly did not. This one was like, I just don't want to get eaten by animals outside. But anyways, this is a super duper long video. I hope that after looking at all this, you guys understand how the AI works and what it does. If you guys have any questions at all, definitely let me know in the comment section below. If you guys like this video, make sure to smash that like button, favorite, comment, subscribe, and ding ding ding, ring the notification bell to be notified whenever you use videos. It's your friendly boy, Jump Like One Only, logging out. Peace. Check the guy. Thank you again.